Hello and welcome to another episode of Codo Cinema, the podcast show where I talk about movies. I'm your host, Mark Codo, aka Codoman. Well, folks, the month of December is here. So, you know what that means. It is time for Codo Cinema Christmas Month. That's right, folks, throughout the month of December, I'm going to talk about different Christmas movies, whether it's a film that takes place on Christmas, a Christmas movie in general, or a mix of both where different film genres come together around the holiday seasons, like Christmas, if you know what I'm saying, right? Now, before I get to the movie that I'm going to talk about for this episode, I thought I'd give an update on what's been going on with me lately. Now, to those who are listening, are probably wondering what's been going on lately since my last episode of Codo Cinema. Now, back in October, after my review of Alien, I mentioned goodnight until next week, where I was gonna do another episode of Codo Cinema. Now, what happened was was sick I was sick for 2 weeks, and I had a fever that didn't go away, and it was not fun at all. It wasn't like the highest fever that I had was 102, and I tried so hard to take care of myself. I tried to rest, take medicine, drink fluids, especially water, to help with my fever. Unfortunately, 8 days later, I I found out that I had pneumonia, and I had to go in for an X-ray. The doctors found out that I had pneumonia, so for another week, I was at the hospital getting treated for pneumonia, and it was real scary. It was a very scary. It was real scary, folks. Like I've never been this sick before in my life. Like when I was a baby, I was actually at the hospital with croups when I was a little baby, and now over 20 years later, I went to the hospital again, but this time with pneumonia. And also to add on, I had to celebrate my 26th birthday at the hospital. So yeah, that was something, right? Yeah, but thankfully my family was there to support me on that day. You know, we all we all hung out. We all hung out at the hospital. We watched a little TV, a little football. And my birthday was on a Sunday, November 3rd. To those who are listening who have posted birthday wishes on my Facebook page, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And to those who also checked in on me just to make sure I'm doing okay, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And to let you all know, I am feeling a lot better. I really am. And just to let you all know, thank you so much. And thank you so much for checking in on me just to make sure I'm doing okay. I am doing a lot better. So, yes, I was sick for 2 weeks. And of course, what also was also going on is that I'm trying to I was basically getting back on my feet just to catch up with work. I mean, I work 3 different jobs. So I work as a theater technician at Center Stage Theater in Naperville. I work as a sports videographer with Naperville Community Television, to which I had a couple of guests on the show before, which was Joe Kennedy and Matt Lauterbach. And of course, I also work as a paraprofessional with my high school that I graduated, which is Naperville Central High School. So, so throughout the month, besides being sick for 2 weeks, I've been basically getting back on my feet with work, and it wasn't easy. But one day at a time, I was able to get back on my feet and, of course, get back on track as well. So that is all good. So this is all good. It's all good. And like I said, to those who checked in on me to make sure I was doing okay. I am feeling a lot better. So anyway, thank you very much for checking in on me. So anyway, I had movies planned for November to talk about, but unfortunately, I decided to pause that. I decided to pause that and save it for 2025. That way, I can use that month to recover from pneumonia. Oddly enough, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta take care of your health. Your health is obviously your main priority. Like, you gotta make sure you're feeling good, you're doing alright, and of course, making sure you're back on your feet. Right? So, anyway, that's enough about that. So, anyway, let's talk about the movie that I'm going to talk about. So, the movie that I'm going to talk about to kick off Codo Cinema Christmas Month, and that movie is going to be Shazam, based on a DC Comics of the same name, although that name is actually referred to as Captain Marvel, DC's version of Captain Marvel, not Marvel's version of Captain Marvel. And yes, there are two different Captain Marvel. Like, there's DC's version of Captain Marvel and Marvel's version of Captain Marvel. Now, DC's version of Captain Marvel is what I'm focusing on, but that would be from Shazam. Shazam is a 2019 American superhero film based on the DC Comics character of the same name, and is produced by New Line Cinema, DC Films, the Safran Company, and Seven Bucks Production, while being distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. It is the seventh installment in the DC Extended Universe, or otherwise known as DCEU, and it was directed by David F. Sandberg from a screenplay by Henry Gayden, who co-wrote the story with Darren Lemick, and it stars Zachary Levi, Mark Strong, Asher Angel, Jack Dylan Grazer, and Jimon Hansu. The film follows a teenage boy named Billy Batson, who is being played by Asher Angel, as he is chosen by the ancient wizard Shazam, played by Jimon Hansu, to be his new champion by saying the name Shazam, allowing him to transform into an adult superhero with various superpowers. And of course, the adult superhero Shazam, to which Billy Batson is playing the adult version of Billy Batson, is being played by Zachary Levi. And of course, Billy and his foster brother Freddie Freeman, being played by Jack Dylan Grazer, must discover Billy's new powers in order to stop the evil Dr. Thaddeus Savannah, being played by Mark Strong, and the Seven Deadly Sins. So there's like a little plot summary. Right there. Now, of course, this film came out in 2019. It was released on April 5th, 2019 in the United States. Now, that movie came out the same year as the Captain Marvel movie starring Brie Larson. And that was around the time when Avengers Endgame was also coming out too. Like, Marvel was obviously dominating that year too. And while the DC Extended Universe was trying to, catch up to Marvel, if you know what I'm saying, right? Now, what's very interesting about this movie is that this film was actually in development since the early 2000s, but unfortunately the project never came through until like the 2010s. And in fact, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was actually considered to star as the film's villain, Black Adam. Unfortunately, that project fell through. However, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson acts as an executive producer on Shazam. However, there is a scene in this movie, which I will get to soon, where it actually references Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's character, Black Adam. However, the main villain, as I mentioned in the 2019 Shazam movie, is Dr. Thaddeus Savannah, who is being played by Mark Strong. Now, before I break down this movie, just to give a brief, summary of how people reacted to this movie. The movie received positive reviews from critics. So basically, this is one of the few DC movies where it actually got positive reviews. Like the DC extended universe, like their movies had their fair share of ups and downs. Like back in 2013, we had the back in 2013 we had Man of Steel with Henry Cavill, which received mixed reviews. And then later down the line in 2016, Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, and the 2016 Suicide Squad, which featured Jared Leto's Joker, did not do well with critics either. And then 2017's Wonder Woman movie with Gal Gadot as the title character was well received. And then we had Joss Whedon's Justice League, which didn't do as well. And then 2018 we had Aquaman, which actually did pretty well. And now 2019's Shazam movie did very well too. Although box office wise, like the box office was okay. It made $367.8 million on a budget of 90 to 100 million. Now, sure, that may not sound. Now, sure, the box office may not sound much, but it made enough money to be a success. So there's something good right there. So anyway, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam were well received movies. Although I guess Man of Steel from 2013, I guess it kind of counts a little bit, but that's just my opinion. So yeah, the DC extended universe really, well, I'll put it this way, it had its fun. It's a real shame that the DC extended universe ended in 2023 because as of now, James Gunn is taking over DC with his new movie, with his new Superman movie, which is coming out sometime in 2025. And I hope that movie's good. I hope James Gunn makes a good movie with the new Superman movie. I hope it's good because Warner Brothers have been shooting themselves in the foot these past couple years, especially with the especially with their DC films. Now, in my opinion, their best movie from DC is obviously The Dark Knight, and I know a lot of people are going to be talking about it too. But so was Christopher Reeve's Superman movie that came out in 1978. Just to throw it out there too. But anyway, let's talk about this movie. So the movie opens up in winter of 1974, where a young Thaddeus Savannah and his older brother are driving home by their father. Now, we never got the name of Thaddeus Savannah's father. Now we don't know his name, but obviously the actor playing him, his name is John Glover. John Glover plays Thaddeus's father, and John Glover actually appeared in other DC Comics films and TV shows like Batman the Animated Series, the new Batman Adventures, Superman the Animated Series, and of course Smallville. He played Lionel Luthor in Smallville. Plus he also played a scientist in the infamous Batman and Robin movie, which came out in 1997. And of course in 2019, John Glover plays Thaddeus's father. Of course, Thaddeus also has a brother as well. I believe the name of his brother is Sid. I believe that's his name. But anyway, Thaddeus is playing with his magic 8-ball, and Savannah is being transported to the Rock of Eternity, where he meets a wizard who is being played by Djimon Hounsou, who introduced him to the mystical statues containing the spirits of the 7 deadly sins: pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. The last of a council of 7, the wizard spent centuries searching for a new champion, put to a test to see if he is pure of heart. However, that did not happen for Savannah because Thaddeus Savannah attempts to touch the eye of envy, failing the test. And the reason why he failed is because he was tempted by the 7 deadly sins to take the eye, because the 7 deadly sins said that Sivana's father and brother thinks that he is weak, and they told him to take the eye and prove to your father that you are powerful. Like, Sivana couldn't resist the temptation. Like, he didn't resist. He tried to touch the eye, and he failed the test. And the wizard transported him back to the car, because Sivana is not pure of heart. Like, Sivana is not pure of heart because of how, like, because of the temptation, but also because he couldn't resist the temptation, but also the fact that Sivana's brother and father, they really treated him like crap. Like, at the beginning of the movie, and this is around Christmas time too, like, Sivana's brother and father were really giving him crap, right? They were treating him unfairly. And to me, that does not sit right with me at all. Like, why? Like, why? This is Thaddeus Sivana's villain origin story at the beginning of this movie. Like, Sivana is a little kid, like a little innocent kid, right? Wanting to have fun. Like, he was having fun with his 8 ball, and then suddenly, like, his brother, like, his older brother teases him, and his father, like, his father overlooks Thaddeus and punishes him. Like, that does not sit right at all. Like, come on. And of course, like, when Sivana went to that Rock of Eternity and failed that test, like, it was the fact that Thaddeus wants to prove himself that he is powerful, but the thing was, the 7 deadly sins, like, the seven deadly sins told him to do it. Like, Thaddeus couldn't resist. He couldn't resist the temptation. Like, there is a good way and a bad way to, get that type of power. Like, you gotta resist that temptation. Like, pure of heart is like one of the main things to do it. Having a pure of heart is one of the main things to do it. Like the wizard said to Thaddeus, like, you must have pure of heart to take the staff, and say my name. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Like, Thaddeus was not the champion because of the fact of what's been going on with him in his childhood, and of course his family. Like, his family was literally giving him crap, if you know what I'm saying. But unfortunately, Thaddeus is back in the car, and he causes a scene in which his brother hits him and his father to crash on ice after a car crash. And of course, the three. Well, technically it was, although of course it was technically Sivana's father who was injured, and Sivana's brother and father blamed Thaddeus Sivana. You can see the look in Thaddeus's eye that he didn't mean to cause it. Like, knowing the fact that he just came back from a mystical realm after failing a test, right? And now, of course, causing a scene. Like a can of worms just opened up. Like, even Thaddeus' father called him a little shit. Like, oh my goodness, that is just rude. Like, come on. Now you can definitely see why years later Thaddeus Sivana became a villain in this movie, if you know what I'm saying, right? But even before that, the magic 8 ball reads, "Find me," indicating that this is basically referencing to the 7 deadly sins, telling Thaddeus Sivana, "Find me." So basically, Thaddeus Sivana is going down the path of darkness, a sinful path, if you know what I'm saying, right? And then, of course, the 7 deadly sins were basically telling this wizard, "You will never find your champion." But the wizard was like, "Seeking spells! Find me one champion, no matter how long it takes." And then, of course, we also get the title of Shazam. Now, a few years before the modern day, we get to see a young Billy Batson who is at a carnival with his mother, who plays darts in vain to get a tiger. However, Billy loses a pendant ball that he won from this, dart tournament. But unfortunately, he He chases after it, but he separates himself from his mother. Now lost, he is picked up by the police, but now lost, he is picked up by the police, who gets him to a foster home. So anyway, in present day Philadelphia, Billy Batson, who is obviously a teenager at this point, being played by Asher Angel, he lures and traps police officers into a pawn shop using their computer in hopes of searching of his long lost mother. Now traveling, he is disappointed. He is found and brought to a social service worker who puts him with the Vasquez family and the other siblings, Eugene, Darla, Pedro, Mary, and Freddie. Now, oddly enough, I'll be honest, I'm glad that Billy Batson found a good foster family, because throughout the rest of the movie, the foster family was actually very good to Billy Batson throughout the rest of the movie. Although, even though Billy was like, even though Billy at the point he's still trying to find his long lost mother, but I like how in throughout the movie, like one of his foster brothers was able to find the address and names of Billy's parents. So later, so Billy meets up with the other foster with so anyway, Billy meets up with his foster family, and of course, this is like I said, this is during the holiday seasons, right? Like this is during the holiday seasons, and of course, taking place in Philadelphia. Like there's snow everywhere. You see Christmas decorations around, and of course, obviously enough, like we get a scene where Billy's foster parents are decorating a Christmas tree in one scene, and that was when Billy Batson comes back in as Shazam, and I'll get to that pretty soon. Anyway, later on, we see Thaddeus Savannah, who is now being played by Mark Strong. He is a full-grown adult who is working in an office building of Savannah Industries, and he is having a conversation with this woman who tells the doctor about her experience and shares a video. And Savannah takes the video to his office where he had a project that tracked people who had similar sightings around the world, and the video enabled him to find access to the wizard's lair. So this is basically videos of patients seeing like different magical spells and symbols too. And then Savannah was like, "Show me." Like you see Dr. Savannah now. Mark Strong as Dr. Savannah, I thought it was a very good choice. Like this is not Mark Strong's first DC villain role. In 2011, he played a villain in Green Lantern named Sinestro. Although near the end of the movie, where during a post-credit scene, Sinestro, which Mark Strong played, he turns his Green Lantern suit from green to yellow. Like he switched the Green Lantern ring with a yellow ring that turns his suit into yellow, indicating that he's going to be the next villain. Unfortunately, we never got a Green Lantern sequel. I'm glad Mark Strong was able to play another DC villain in the name of Dr. Savannah. Now, oddly enough, I thought he was going to be, your stereotypical villain for the most part. Like, he looked like Lex Luthor a little bit, but for the most part, he seemed to be pretty good. Although, in my opinion, there is one moment where he does go into a bit of a stereotypical route near the end, and I will get to that later on. So anyway, Dr. Savannah and this one other doctor are talking about the symbols of the wizard's lair, and this one doctor who questioned Savannah turns the doctor into dust. Like, that was a scary moment. That was like a scary moment, and that was after when the doctor touched this door with all the symbols on it. Like, it was a female doctor, by the way, and this female doctor like turned to dust, and that was scary. That was a scary moment right there. So anyway, Savannah goes into this door to confront the wizard, and of course, like he tells the wizard, like the wizard recognizes him and was like, "I remembered you. You have no pure of heart." But Savannah, like confronts this wizard and tells him, "Do you know what it's like being told like you're never gonna be better? Well, guess what? Things are about to change now." Like he goes down like you know what's up. You know all hell's gonna break loose after what Savannah said. Like he went after this eye, the energy ball of the this energy ball of envy. Like he touches the energy ball, unleashing the seven deadly sins, and they form into an eye and sits at home and latches itself into his right eye. And that was actually foreshadowed at the beginning of the movie. I know we saw a young Thaddeus Savannah trying to touch the eye, but if you look real closely at the beginning of the movie of young Thaddeus Savannah, like he was wearing a pair of glasses, there is a glimpse of the energy ball shining upon the right lens, the right side lens of Thaddeus's glasses. If you look real closely, foreshadowing that this energy ball will go inside the right side of Thaddeus Savannah's eye. And it did. And with the seven deadly sins released, all seven of them told the wizard, "You have never found your champion, but we found ours." Like, yep, yep. And Thaddeus Savannah knocks out the wizard. So later on at school, Billy goes to school for the first time with the foster kids, and he sits at lunch with Freddy, and of course Freddy and Billy are trying to have a conversation, talking about, like, hey, what type of superpower will you have, like invisibility or flight? And if I remember correctly, I think Billy said flight. That way he can fly out of here. Although Billy's he's being irritated by Freddy. Like Freddy, who's being played by Jack Dylan Grazer, like he tries to tell him like, what's going on? What's your favorite power? What's your favorite type of superpower if you ever have one? Like like Billy's irritated. Like he's never been around with people aside from his mom, if you know what I'm saying, right? So anyway, like after school, like there were two bullies who beat up Freddy, and Billy like tries to walk away at first, but one of the bullies says, "Oh, what? You're gonna use your fake family to stand up for you?" Like Billy hears that, and he doesn't want to take this crap. Like Billy walks back over to the bullies and smacks them with Freddy's cane. And to those of you who are probably wondering, Freddy has like a leg problem, and he limps around a lot, which explains why he has this cane, if you know what I'm saying. And Billy really gave the bullies a good beating, although unfortunately one of them punched Billy in the gut. But this also leads up to another funny moment when one of the foster kids picked up nunchucks from one of the bullies' backpacks, and he was like, "Hey, back off, asshats! I know how to use these things." Like, where did those nunchucks come from? I know they were in the backpack, but what? Billy runs away from the bullies inside a subway. Unfortunately, on the subway train, there are symbols appearing inside, and Billy Batson enters the Rock of Eternity. He meets the wizard, and he reveals he had previously given his powers to someone else, but had turned evil and killed numerous people and released the seven deadly sins. And the wizard vowed to search for someone who possessed a pure of heart, leading him to search for millennia. Now, of course, this is going back to what I mentioned about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This is referencing Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's character of Black Adam, because the wizard chose Black Adam as his champion. Unfortunately, Black Adam went down a dark path. Like he became evil. Like he became evil and killed numerous people while releasing the seven deadly sins. Now, of course, we actually got a chance to see Black Adam in his own movie, which came out in 2022, titled Black Adam. And I'll be honest, I thought the movie was fun, but it's a real shame the movie didn't do as well as many people hoped for. I mean, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I'll be honest, he was a real good choice to play Black Adam. But unfortunately, his time as Black Adam was very, very short because of the fact that DC decided to, restart with James Gunn's own universe. And of course, Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill had a small cameo in Black Adam during the post-credit scene, and it was a good cameo, but that cameo was wasted and didn't go anywhere for that matter. And it's a real shame too, because I really, really wish we got another Shazam movie where it's just Shazam, Superman, and Black Adam. That would have been cool, if you know what I'm saying. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen for the future of DC. But anyway, it's real nice that we got a reference to Dwayne the Rock Johnson's Black Adam character in the first Shazam movie. So anyway, Billy, who's surprised to see the Wizard, they're basically talking about, like I mentioned, about Black Adam's like story of being like the champion, and now of course the Wizard wants Billy to be his next champion, since Billy has a pure of heart. Like, he chooses Billy, who has to say the word Shazam. I really like this moment where the Wizard's like, say my name so my power may flow through you. And Billy's like, what's your name? My name is Shazam. And Billy chuckles for a bit, and he was like, seriously? But the Wizard's like, say it! Billy's like, okay, Shazam? So Billy says the word, and he begins to transform into the champion Shazam. And the wizard starts to give him like different types of powers. Like I forgot what the powers were, but one of them mentioned like different like powers from like Zeus. Like from Zeus, and like naming off the Greek gods, if you know what I'm saying. Like the wizard is naming off different powers from different Greek gods, and one of them was from Zeus, and one of them was from Zeus, and of course Mercury as well, and a couple of other names too. I forgot what the other names were, but yes, if you hear that correctly, the wizard was naming off different Greek gods and giving Billy Batson those powers. Like, he's naming off those powers, and from there on, Billy Batson transforms from a kid to an actual adult. And this is Zachary Levi playing the adult Billy Batson as Shazam. And Shazam was like wondering what's going on. He was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What am I doing here? Whoa, whoa, what's happening? What happened to my voice? But the wizard was like, Billy Batson, the thrones of our brothers and sisters await. Like, he's telling him that there are 7 empty thrones. And there's 7 empty thrones. Basically having him and the other 7 remaining brothers and sisters fill in for the Rock of Eternity, in those 7 seats. To like lead it. Like, who's gonna take the throne now after the original Shazam disappears? And he does. Like, the original Shazam wizard that Djimon Hounsou plays disappears into dust. And Billy, to his surprise, he's like, oh man, get me out of here! Get me out of here! He wakes up in the subway, and there's this one guy who's like, oh man, go shoes, go pallets, man, you are awesome, man. Like, Billy's like, oh man. Billy as an adult doesn't know what's going on now. Like, he's basically a full-grown adult. Like, this is referencing the big movie from 1988, if you know what I'm saying. Like, Tom Hanks plays one of the adult kids. Like, I forgot the name of the kid in that movie, but this kid in this movie made a wish, and he wished to be big, and the next morning his wish came true. Like, he turns into a full-grown adult. And this movie kind of references Tom Hanks' character from Big. And that movie came out in 1988. Actually, speaking of which, this movie actually does have a bit of an 80s feel to it, to be quite honest with you. So, anyway, we're going to move forward. Billy Batson as an adult, Zachary Levi's character returns to his foster home and meets up with Freddy. Like, he scares Freddy, and Freddy screams, but Billy's like, "What, Billy?" Billy walks up to the window holding up a "Don't Scream" sign. Unfortunately, Freddy's screaming, and Billy is like, Freddy, it's me. Remember in school you told me, like, what type of power I have, like flight or visibility? I thought that was stupid, but now I look like this, and I really need your help. So Freddy walks outside, and he was about to call the police on Billy as an adult. Like, I thought that was pretty funny. But thankfully, Freddy was able to recognize him after the fact that Billy stole his Superman bullet. Yes, Freddy has like a collection of all the superheroes memorabilia. Like, we see Batman's Batarang in his room. Plus, we also see the bullet a bullet that Superman took that is being crushed. Like, Billy took Freddy's bullet that he kept, like it was a Superman bullet, and he was like, "Listen, I lied. I took your bullet." And he drops the bullet. He loses the bullet in the sewer, and Bill was like, "Oh, no! Oh, stupid adult hands!" But you saw it, right? You saw it. Like, Freddy was able to recognize Billy, and what they do next. It was really funny. It's like that. What they do next is that they go on a couple of adventures. Like Billy was able to save this woman from this robber who's trying to steal her purse, but this woman pepper sprays this guy. But also at the same time, Billy tosses this robber into a trash can, and this woman gave Billy $70, and Billy and Freddy try to go grab beer. Like, he's basically like the fake ID. That was actually hilarious. It's hilarious that Billy and Freddy, Billy as Shazam, go into this convenience store to buy beer. That's just so funny and messed up at the same time. But then unfortunately, a couple of robbers come on by to steal the cash register. But Billy was like, "Hey, gentlemen, why use guns when we could just have a conversation and use hands? Throw a fist, punch, But unfortunately, the robbers shoot. Unfortunately, the robbers shoot him. But thankfully, Billy has bullet immunity. Basically, he's bulletproof. Like, kind of like how Superman is, if you know what I'm saying. And the robbers keep shooting at Billy, but Freddy was like, "Oh wait, we don't know if it's the suit or is it the skin. Shoot him in the face." Billy was like, "Shoot me in the face." Wait, the face? The robbers shoot him in the face, and it kind of tickled. And it really tickled him. It really did. Thankfully, Billy throws the robbers out of the window, wrapped up in Christmas lights, and what's really funny is that they really bought the beer. They drank it. Unfortunately, Billy said that the beer tastes like actual vomit, and they decided to buy convenience store food. And I thought that was really funny. So anyway, Billy and Freddy go back home to the foster house, and we get another funny moment where Billy is still Shazam. Like, he walks upstairs and he says goodnight to his foster mom, and his foster mom hears him, and it was like, "Billy, is that you? Hey, come, hey, we want to see you. We just want to make sure you're okay." But Billy's like, "Oh yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay." But Freddy was like, "Yeah, he was just sleeping. He's yawning." But we get another funny moment where Billy and Freddy accidentally stumble upon their foster sister's room, which is Darla. Darla's the little girl, and Darla sees Billy as an adult, and it's a really funny moment. It's like she's one of those like little sisters who would like to like reveal a lot of stuff, share a lot of things. So basically, it was a little funny moment. But what also comes next is that Billy says Shazam, and he turns back into a kid. So the only way that Billy can transform into the adult version of Billy is him saying the word Shazam, and that's what and Freddie pointed that out. And I also like the moment when while he was saying Shazam, um, Billy's foster dad was decorating the Christmas tree, and the lights were going out, and he was like, "Oh my goodness!" I thought it was pretty funny. So anyway, the next day, Billy and Freddy were going into town, testing out different powers and abilities like lightning, super speed, and strength. And they were doing that throughout the day. They were doing that throughout the day while Freddy was recording this. Like Freddy starts a YouTube channel of all of Billy's powers, skills, and abilities. Of him being a superhero, right? And and while that's going on, like this is a montage that was going on, and of course, and of course the song "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen is playing in the background, and it really fits this scene very well. I thought the music and the montage worked very well, knowing the fact that this is Billy Batson as an adult testing out his superpowers. This is like his first time being a superhero, learning his powers and abilities as this superhero, right? We get some funny moments where Billy where Billy like he almost gets burnt alive by Freddy. He almost gets burnt alive by Freddy, and I thought it was a funny moment. We even see Billy punch through a pillar with his bare hands. He hits his hand with a hammer, and the hammer breaks, knowing the fact that he's indestructible. And we also get another moment where he charges people's phones with his lightning hands. And then we also get another moment where he and Freddy are drinking a boatload of Dr. Peppers, but unfortunately, Billy had to go to the bathroom so badly, where one guy was surprised at the moment that he says Shazam, that he went from a kid from an adult to a kid, and this guy was freaking out like, "Oh my goodness, what is this?" And then we also get another moment where Billy goes into a stripper club and walks back out, telling Freddy, "We're gonna need more. We're gonna need more money." Are you kidding me? Those girls were asking so much. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, this movie's PG-13. Like, keep in mind, Shazam is rated PG-13, and we get a scene where Shazam goes into a stripper club. Oh my goodness. So anyway, later on, we go to Savannah Industries, where Dr. Thaddeus Savannah barges into a corporate meeting hosted by his brother and father, who had lost his legs in the accident from the night in 1974. Now, of course, Thaddeus's father is like, "What are you doing here? This is a business meeting." And Thaddeus is like, "I'm well aware of that." And of course, there was a confrontation between the siblings, resulting in Savannah throwing his brother out of the window and showing off the 7 deadly sins in his eyes, slaughtering everyone in the room, including his father. Now, I'm going to say this right now. I do not condone Thaddeus Savannah's actions. However, I was on Thaddeus's side throughout this entire scene. And the reason why is because Thaddeus Savannah was being mistreated, and I believe abused and poked fun by his own brother and his own father. Because, like I said, Thaddeus' own brother and father treated him like crap throughout his entire life. That's what they did. Like, that's what those two did to Thaddeus. And Thaddeus just walks on in and says, "I'm going to give you guys what you deserve." Like, Like, he released the 7 deadly sins on the entire business meeting. Like, all 7 deadly sins are there. It was also interesting too is that director David F. Sandberg has done a couple of horror films before this, so he really went back to his horror movie elements. Like this is a scary scene. Like this scene was basically pure David F. Sandberg going back to his horror roots. Like he did a couple of horror films. Obviously, one of his movies that David F. Sandberg did was Lights Out, which is actually based on his short film of the same name, and Annabelle Creation. To which, fun fact, the Annabelle doll makes an appearance in the beginning of the movie during the pawn shop scene. And now we get this moment where all 7 deadly sins are attacking the business meeting, to the point where Thaddeus's father begs for help. He is scared at this moment. He's like, "Help me!" But unfortunately, Thaddeus says, "We can't go crying to other people." And this really bites him back in the ass because in the beginning of the movie, I forgot to mention this, but Thaddeus's father tells him you can't go crying to other people. Yeah, he returned the favor to you. Thaddeus returns the favor, and like I said, Thaddeus's brother and father treated him like crap throughout his entire life. And another thing to ask, where was the mom in this movie? Where was Thaddeus's mom? Like, I don't think Thaddeus's mom would take that crap at all. Like, where was she? I don't understand. Like, where was Thaddeus's mom? I really don't know. Like, we never get to see Thaddeus's mom in this movie at all. Like, I don't believe she would take this crap at all. If you know what I'm saying, right? But anyway, Thaddeus's father begs him like, dude, I'll give you anything, money, company. Do you want the company? But Thaddeus Savannah was like, well, there it is, greed, because one of the main sins is greed, and his father was living off of greed throughout his entire life. And kind of like how in Christmas Carol, you know how in Christmas Carol where Scrooge was a grumpy old man and he was going down this greedy path. Like if you continue down this greedy path, your life is gonna end very badly. And that's what happened to Thaddeus's father in this very scene. Like we even get this. We hear Thaddeus told Greed, "Oh, Greed, you can have him." Like Greed, this deadly sin Greed consumed Thaddeus's father, and that was the end of him. And of course, he walks into the elevator. He walks into the elevator going down, and he hears this advertisement of Savannah Industries saying family, and Thaddeus doesn't believe that because his own family, his own brother and father turned on him his entire life, and he punches that advertisement out. Like you hear this advertisement, as I mentioned, saying Savannah Industries family is the main thing, and Thaddeus is like, nope, not anymore. Like Thaddeus Savannah is going down this dark path. The rest of the board members did not deserve that death at all. Like they didn't deserve to be caught in the crossfire. Unfortunately, they did. I want to say I feel bad for the other board members too, but unfortunately, obviously enough, I didn't feel bad for Thaddeus's brother and father at all. I didn't. I didn't. They had it coming. Those two really had it coming, and I did not feel bad at all. But again, I do not condone Thaddeus's actions at all. But in that scene, I did not feel bad at all. Those two guys had it coming in this movie, if you know what I'm saying, right? But for the other board members, they didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve that death at all. Like I feel bad for the other board members being caught in the crossfire, but at the same time, if you know what I'm at the same time, this was a scene where Thaddeus revealed himself as like the, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, you two guys are getting what you freaking deserve. And that was a scary scene in that movie, in my personal opinion. But anyway, we move forward. The next day at school, the bullies began to mess with Freddy and Billy again until Freddy tells them that he knows the new hero, Red Cyclone or Captain Sparkle Fingers. Like, they're trying to come up with new names, and I can understand that too because obviously, I guess you could say that DC doesn't want to reference Captain Marvel because of the fact that Marvel has the name Captain Marvel. And keep in mind, as I mentioned, the Captain Marvel movie with Brie Larson came out that same year. If you know what I'm saying, right? So I guess they did that just to avoid, I guess infringement, if you know what I'm saying. But at the same time, it is a little funny that Freddy's trying to come up with different names for Shazam, like Mr. Philadelphia, or Red Cyclone, or Captain Sparkle Fingers. So the next day at school, bullies began to mess with Freddy and Billy again. But what's also funny too is that Billy, who turns into Shazam, breaks the bully's truck, and by lifting it up in the air and dropping it from the sky, crashing into the ground. And I thought that was like a funny moment too. Like, those bullies had it coming. Although, however, I do not condone Billy's actions. I do not condone his actions. But at the same time, it was a funny moment. Like, dang, that car insurance bill is gonna go up for those bullies. But later at night, Freddy and Billy get into a bit of an argument over him just assuming and trying to use Billy for his powers. And this was going on during dinner at night with the Foster family, and they were all thinking about the new superhero, and everyone gives input, and Freddy takes a dig at Shazam, and then him and Billy get into a bit of an argument, leaving the rest of the family confused. Even to the point where Dara was like, "What are you all talking about? Why are you all looking at me? I'm not saying anything." So anyway, the next morning, Billy decides not to attend school because he wants to find his mother, despite Freddy asking for lunch. And while that's going on, Shazam does various things, taking selfies and showing off lightning for money, and he sees his foster sister Mary about to cross the street, but unfortunately Mary almost got hit by a car, and Shazam saves her. They were both talking about, why is she upset, but unfortunately finds out that it turns out that Mary is going to college, and she will have to leave her family. But unfortunately, Shazam accidentally reveals he knew her name and housing situation, but unfortunately, he leaves. And Mary starts to realize something is up, and she finds that out later in the movie that it's actually Billy. So later on, Freddy finds Shazam, and Freddy finds him at the stairs, at the rocky stairs. And I'm not talking about like Rocky stairs. I'm talking about the Rocky movie. You know, like the scene where Rocky goes up those Philadelphia stairs. That's basically the Rocky stairs, if you know what I'm saying, right? And while that's going on, we also hear "Eye of the Tiger" being played in the background too, which was basically being played in the third Rocky movie during the opening credits. And so that was a nice little Easter egg too. Freddy argues with Billy on why he didn't show up to school for lunch, and of course the bullies gave Freddy what is called a suitcase wedgie, and that's crazy. And yet Shazam tries to defuse it, shooting lightning that hits the tires of a bus across the city, sending it off the side of the bridge. And Shazam was able to catch it and puts it on the concrete, only to be proudly told he's not using his powers right. And Freddy, who sees it all, tells Billy that Billy's another bully. Like he's basically a bigger bully than the bullies at school. And it really hits him hard because Billy, who has these cool powers now, he's using them irresponsibly. It's like Spider-Man, right? You know how in Spider-Man, Uncle Ben says, with great power comes great responsibility? Billy was being irresponsible at this point. and Freddy, who couldn't take it anymore, just walks away. And Billy's like, whatever, dude. I'm like late 20s, maybe 30s, if you know what I'm saying. Until Savannah shows up and demands the powers of Shazam. And he's basically like Shazam's basically like, excuse me, sir, can I help you? Oh, you're like a supervillain, huh? Well, let me tell you. Well, I just want to give you a heads up. I do have these powers. But unfortunately, Savannah has similar powers too. And he punches Shazam a couple of times, and Shazam bleeds from his nose. Like, he's bleeding. And Savannah's like, the weapons of power like that, you shouldn't even bleed. You shouldn't even bleed. Now you must transfer your power to me. Like, Savannah wants Shazam's powers, right? Like, I feel like this is where it goes into a bit of a stereotypical route where he wants his powers. Like he wants Shazam's powers to be the most powerful villain in the world, if you know what I'm saying, right? So then, Shazam gains the upper hand a little bit. Like, he punches him in the balls, and like Shazam punches Doctor Savannah in the balls, and he's like, "Oh, ho, 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 ho. You did not see that coming. Those street rules, man." And Savannah grabs Shazam and takes him up to the sky. And it was like, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit you in the nuts like that. Can we talk about this? And Savannah's like, you're acting like a child. And Billy is like, that's because I am one. But unfortunately, Savannah punches him, and sends him down back to the city. And Billy's trying to fly. He's like, I believe I can fly. I can fly. Unfortunately, he doesn't for the moment until he begins to float as he is a inch to the concrete. And Billy is floating, but unfortunately, Savannah just tosses him around like a rag doll all over the city, leading into the mall where he interrupts Santa Claus's conversation with a kid of what does this kid want for Christmas from Santa, if you know what I'm saying. And what's real funny too, like this ball fight, it's pretty funny where Shazam is basically getting his ass kicked by Savannah. Like, he's getting thrown around like a rag doll. And what's also funny too is that Shazam throws a couple of toys at Thaddeus Savannah, and we get a moment where he throws a Batman toy at Savannah and is like, "Get him, Batman!" And this Batman toy says, "I'm Batman." And this Batman toy is being voiced by sound designer Bill R. Dean, who is basically uncredited for this cameo. So that's a nice fun cameo right there. Just Billy throwing that Batman toy, and that Batman toy is saying, "I'm Batman." And Billy's like, "Get him, Batman!" And then we also get another funny reference from Big, where Thaddeus and Shazam are on this piano. It's a real big piano, and that piano was actually used in the Big movie with Tom Hanks. So that's a nice little reference too. So after that fight, and boy, that was a bad fight for Shazam. Shazam runs away. Like, he says the name out loud, turning him back into, Billy Batson as a kid. So Billy runs away until Savannah finds Freddy, because Freddy saw all of it, and Freddy gets captured by Savannah, and then Freddy was like, "Supervillain!" So Savannah tortures Freddy for a bit, asking him, where is he? So later on, Billy shows up, and the family know, and somehow the foster parents know, including his foster mother and father, knowing the fact that Billy has run away, caused into multiple fights. Unfortunately, later on, Eugene told Billy that his mother is only 2 subway stops away. Billy rushes out the door to see his mom, and He really does. We get a moment. We get an emotional moment of Billy and his actual mom. Like, it's a real sad moment too, because Billy, who is a teenager, hasn't seen his mom for years, and his mother informs Billy that he was intentionally abandoned on that day, and saw him with the police, and that he would be better cared for by others since she was 17. So so basically, it turns out that Billy's own mother didn't take care of him. Like his own mom was she was a careless mom at that point. Like, she lost Billy. I don't know what went down in her life, but I got a feeling her life didn't turn out that well. And Billy is so sad. Like, he is heartbroken to the point where he controlled his emotions in the face of the heartbreaking reality that his stubborn years long search for his mother was for nothing. And Billy quietly reassures his mother that he is fine, but he said that he has to return to his real family. And that was a heartbreaking moment. Like years later, it's like you're a kid and you're basically lost from your real mom, right? Your real mom or your real dad, if you know what I'm saying. It's heartbreaking, and it's also heartbreaking too that even years later, that there are parents who are basically careless. Like, they don't care at all. And I know, like, there are parents who really cared, and years later when you see them again, they still care for you. Even though, like, they accidentally lost that kid, at the same time they still cared. Like, I remember Finding Dory. The movie Disney Pixar's Finding Dory. Like, Dory gets separated from her parents when she was a little fish, right? And like she gets dragged away. She gets I want to say not flushed away, but like those pipes, like the undertow, right? It sucked her into the ocean, right? And years later, when she was a full grown fish, she she finds her parents. Like, she remembers the shells that her parents left, and the moments when she finds her parents coming back in the ocean, it was a heartbreaking moment, but also satisfying too, knowing the fact that she found her parents. Another example, also in Finding Nemo too, where Nemo gets separated from his dad after, an argument, knowing the fact that Nemo can't do these things, like Nemo's too young. But unfortunately, when they are reunited, it was an emotional moment too, knowing the fact that Nemo Nemo and his dad are are finally back together. It was an emotional moment. But in this situation for Shazam, it was heartbreaking to realize that Billy's mom was not a good mother, and it is a sad reality too. That is really really sad. Even Arthur Fleck's mom in the Joker did the same thing but worse. It was so sad. Anyway, moving forward, Billy tries to call. Billy receives a phone call from Freddy, and Billy is like, "Hey man, you're right. I'm so sorry," but he hears Savannah's voice telling Billy to come home. He was like, "Come home, Billy. Come home." But before Billy does that, uh, Billy gives his mom the keychain compass that she gave him years ago, with a comment mixed with regret, resentment, and understanding about her. So, at the very least, there was a bit of a mixed emotion from Billy. Yeah, like yeah, like Billy at the very least understood, but he knows who his real family is. But he gives her the compass, and Billy decides to go back to his real family, his foster family. and he decides to go on a superhero mission to rescue his real foster family. He jumps off the apartment building and transforms to Shazam and flies home. So he goes back to the house, and Shazam opens the door, and one of his foster brothers told Shazam to kick Savannah's ass, and that was pretty funny. But unfortunately, Savannah and the Sins attack. Unfortunately, Savannah and Shazam decide to go into the Rock of Eternity, and Shazam tells Savannah, "I don't think these guys have any interest in you." Like, he's referencing the seven deadly sins. Like, he knows those guys are bad news, right? Like, the seven deadly sins, those are not good. But one of them told Shazam, "Take the wizard's staff and say the champion's name." But before that can happen, Freddy and his foster siblings walk into the Rock of Eternity with Freddy throwing a batarang at Savannah's head, and Freddy was like, his name is Captain Sparkle Fingers, and Dara's like, and we're gonna keep throwing things at your big ugly head until you let our brother go. And that was a funny moment. And Shazam knocks out Savannah with the batarang and tosses him aside. So Billy and his foster siblings began to run away, but unfortunately they're stuck in this giant cave realm full of doors. And I guess you could say it's a reference to Monsters Inc. If you remember in Monsters Inc., there are a lot of doors everywhere, and Shazam and his foster siblings are trying to find a way out with those doors. They tried 3 doors. The first door was basically a room full of crocodile men, and obviously enough, the crocodile men actually play a role in the Shazam comic books. The crocodile men are actually one of the few Shazam villains in the comic books. So it was nice that they actually got a cameo in this movie. What was also funny too is that David F. Sandberg plays the crocodile men in this movie. And there were also a couple of other people too who were involved in playing 2 other members of the Crocodile Gang. David F. Sandberg was assisted by Steve Newburn and Ned Morrill. So that was actually pretty funny. That David F. Sandberg and 2 other members played the Crocodile Men. And then another cameo comes in where one of the foster siblings opened a door which features one of the monster creatures from The Mist, and that was another funny moment too. And then we don't see this cameo, but if you listen real closely, the third cameo is the T-Rex roar from Jurassic Park, or Jurassic World, I should say, because the studio Legendary Pictures was one of the film companies who were involved in this movie were also involved with Jurassic World. So the T-Rex roar was the third cameo during this door sequence. And Billy is like, "Okay, no more doors. No, don't open up any more doors." I feel like this is a Goonies scene at this moment, because Billy and his foster siblings are basically going on this adventure, and it feels like you're watching the Goonies a little bit, which is another 80s classic. Another good film for the 80s, if you know what I'm saying, right? But of course, in order for Billy to escape, he has to think of a way out. And what does he do? He basically takes his foster siblings to the same stripper club that Billy and Freddy went to. And Billy's foster sister Mary was like, "Really? This is the first place you think of? I mean, well, where else can Billy escape to, huh? The ocean? Batman's cave? Krypton? I mean, where else? Or the subway?" But anyway, but even Freddy walks out of the stripper club and he was like, oh yeah, you guys have a holly jolly Christmas." Like, come on, Freddy. I don't know what's up on Freddy's mind, but we gotta move forward. So Savannah and the seven deadly sins attack the carnival, and they also escape they also escape the stripper club too. They attack this carnival, shooting at a Ferris wheel, almost tipping over. Savannah and Shazam fight all around the carnival, and of course, the seven deadly sins are also capturing Billy's foster siblings. We also get a moment where Savannah tries to drown Billy Batson in this icy pool, and Billy tries to scream Shazam, but he couldn't. He couldn't because he was underwater. But thankfully, Mary pulls out this BB gun, tries to shoot at Savannah's eye, but of course, Savannah loses the other hand because his other hand was supposed to be on Billy, but he let go of it just to catch the bullet, which gives Billy enough time to say Shazam, turns back into the superhero that he is, and he tries to, and he almost gives up his powers to Savannah, but unfortunately, he hears the voice of the wizard saying, "Say my name, and my power will flow through you. I open my heart to you, Billy Batson. Thrones of our brothers and sisters await." This was referring back to the wizard, and Shazam, like, he takes the wizard's stick, knocks out Savannah, and he tells his family all hands on deck, and tells his foster siblings to say the name. They all said Billy, but Shazam was like, no, not my name. Say the name that turns into this guy. They all say Shazam, and I gotta be honest with you, the reveal of the foster siblings turn into superheroes was a satisfying moment. I feel like that was kept under wraps, and it's amazing to see how all of Billy's foster siblings are now superheroes in this very moment. Like, it was an awesome reveal. Like, even Freddy, who is basically a superhero now, he was like, "Oh, I can fly!" Like, Freddy, who is basically the adult superhero in this scene, he is being played by Adam Brody. And as for Darla's adult superhero form, she's being played by Megan Good. And of course, Mary's adult superhero form is being played by Michelle Borth. And then, of course, Eugene, who is Billy's younger foster brother, his adult super form is being played by Ross Butler. And then the other brother, Pedro, his adult superhero form is being played by DJ Cortana. And I'll be honest, it is awesome to see Billy's foster brothers being adult superheroes, and it was an awesome moment. Even Savannah was surprised, and he's like, "No, that's impossible." And Shazam is like, "Gee whiz, sir, sorry I took your staff. You want it? You want it? Come and get it." But he breaks the staff, tosses it aside, and all the members fight Savannah and the seven deadly sins, and then, of course, rescuing the people from the Ferris wheel. And it's an awesome fight. Especially love the moment where Santa Claus is running away from one of the seven deadly sins, and Darla rescues him, and it was a funny moment. But of course, Freddy, who's basically showing off to this one member of the seven deadly sins, he's like, "What do you got?" This one seven deadly sin has fingernails of Freddy Krueger, and he's like, "Okay, that's scary." So Shazam and Savannah have a fight throughout the city, and we get this moment. Now I see this moment as basically your stereotypical speech. Now this is a stereotypical moment that I can find in this movie, and this is basically Savannah telling Shazam, is like, "Enough gains, boy. Do you think a pack of friends can help defeat me?" But unfortunately, Shazam doesn't hear it because both of those guys are far away from each other, and Shazam was like, "Huh? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. All I see is mouth movement. It is hilarious knowing the fact that we get this, we get Savannah who's presenting his stereotypical speech, and Shazam is just, he doesn't pay attention. All he sees is Savannah's mouth movement, and he was like, screw it. So basically, Savannah and Shazam fight, and Billy, for the most part, Billy's doing good, but unfortunately, Savannah gains the upper hand a little bit, and they both land on top of this building, and Shazam starts to talk about this speech, talking about, the seven deadly sins. Like, oh yeah, so you get these guys, the seven deadly sins who are basically around you, oh, like pride, greed, then there's lust, wrath, gluttony, and sloth. Hey, where's the other guy? Where's envy? Lucky number 7, if you know what I'm saying, right? Where is he? And this is basically also mentioned too, is that like like one of the Foster siblings said, like, once the seven deadly sins are out of Savannah, he's just an old man. Like, that's what Shazam is trying to do. He's trying to get the last sin out of Savannah, and he's doing his best. Like, come on, where's lucky number 7? How come all the other deadly sins come out to play? But come on, but not for weak, ugly envy. Like, Shazam calls out envy, and envy comes out of Savannah while he's floating in the air, and now Savannah's just an old man. Savannah's just a mortal man, and he grabs onto the railing, and Shazam gets envy, and he basically, he knocks out envy by saying Shazam. Like, you hear just Shazam saying, "Gotcha, Shazam!" And envy disappears for a sec, and Shazam goes and rescues Savannah from falling to his death. And with that being said, Billy and Savannah decide to collect his friends and take the eye out of Savannah's face. And of course, all the deadly sins are back inside this eye. So basically, the Shazam family saved the day, and everybody and the crowd, and there were cheers from the crowd as there were cheers from the crowd, and there was even a moment where Shazam almost put the eye inside himself, but no, he didn't. He was just joking around. He was like, "What, you think I'm gonna put a demon eye inside my face? No, I'm not gonna do that." So he takes the eye back to the lair and returns the sins for keeping. Shazam and Freddy decide that they find that this is their lair. The Rock of Eternity is their lair, because during the movie, when Shazam and Freddy were testing out their powers, they were trying to find a superhero hideout, and they eventually found it. It was the Rock of Eternity. They found their hideout. So back at the Foster home, everyone returned to the original form and are watching a newscast of the carnival instance, with Santa Claus describing the event while also cussing out F-bombs. And the Foster family all talk and laugh, and Billy finally feels happy and safe, accepting a family. And at school, Freddy sits down at lunch, and the entire table leaves so all of his siblings come and sit next to him. The bullies show up and ask if he's still friends with Red Cyclone. Somehow Shazam appears and tells the school how Freddy showed him everything it means to be a hero. And of course, he tells Freddy, I brought another friend with me. I hope that's okay. So it turns out his other friend was Superman. And we don't see Superman's face, but we do see his upper body. Like, his upper body, not his face. We don't see the actor playing him, but we see Zachary Levi's stunt double like his like we see Zachary Levi's stunt double as the stand-in for Superman. Like we don't see his upper body. It is Henry Cavill's Superman, but unfortunately, Henry Cavill was unavailable to film the scene, so the filmmakers brought in Zachary Levi's stunt double to stand in for Henry Cavill's Superman, and it was a surprise. It was a funny moment too because Freddy freaks out knowing the fact that Superman is at the school, bringing lunch. Yeah, and that's how the film ends right there. However, we do get a mid-credit scene where Dr. Savannah is in a prison cell, doodling the symbols all over the wall in a futile effort to reopen the portal until he gets interrupted by this evil voice inside the prison cell, and this evil voice is saying, "Primitive symbols. You walking, talking monkeys with your cave drawings. There are more ways out there." And this evil voice turns out to be this little caterpillar or alien worm, although it's more of a caterpillar. And this caterpillar is Mr. Mind. And Mr. Mind is also a DC Comics villain for Shazam, and this is a deadly villain. Like, sure, he looks cute and all, but this is a character who is very, very dangerous. And Mr. Mind, he's actually being voiced by David F. Sandberg in this movie, and this caterpillar is telling Doctor Savannah that is telling Doctor Savannah about his evil plan, and Savannah's like, "What in God's name are ya?" But Mr. Mind's like, "I created the gods, Doctor, not the other way around. Oh, what fun we're going to have. The 7 realms are about to be ours." So, yeah. So Dr. Savannah meets up with Mr. Mind, who's basically this evil caterpillar. And we actually see Mr. Mind at the beginning of the movie, where he was one of the wizard's collections in the beginning of the movie, where Savannah, who was a little kid, entered the Rock of Eternity for the first time. Like, that's where we see Mr. Mind for the first time. And there's also a post-credit scene where Shazam tries to talk to fish, kind of like how Aquaman talks to fish, but unfortunately, Billy is like, "I can't do that. That's just a silly idea." Like, he couldn't do it, and that's the end of the movie. Oof, man, that was a lot to talk about. But I gotta say, I still think the movie's good. Like, Shazam is a pretty good movie. Like, I like how even though this movie takes place around Christmas time, I like how the film focuses so much on family, because like the family was obviously the main part of this movie. Like, Billy lost Billy's trying to find his mother, only to find out that his mother was not being a good mother. We also see Billy, being in this foster home, who basically turns out to be his real family. Even Savannah's own family, we even see Savannah's own father and brother turn on him, especially in the beginning of the movie, if you know what I'm saying. Like, there was a huge focus on family in this movie, and I really like that. I really like how there are movies that focuses on family so much. But even for a superhero movie, it still works. Like, this is still a superhero movie. Like, hey, you can't do this alone. Hey, you can't do this alone. You're gonna need extra help. And I really like how Billy gets extra help in this movie. And it does a real good job with it. Like Zachary Levi, like he was good as Shazam. Like the casting performance was good. Like, Zachary Levi and Mark Strong was good too. I like Mark Strong as Dr. Thaddeus Savannah in this movie. Like like as much as I want to see Dwayne the Rock Johnson in the first Shazam movie as Black Adam, it still worked. Like having Savannah as the main villain it worked out very well. And of course, like the story itself is good. I really like the Christmas aspect in the movie, but also but even the music by Benjamin Wallfish was pretty good too. It had a bit of an 80s vibe to it, most notably for Shazam's theme, because if you listen real closely, it had a bit of a Superman theme and of course a Back to the Future theme too. Like you hear a bit of a Back to the Future riff in the theme song for a little bit, if you know what I'm saying. But also a riff of John Williams' Superman as well, and I really like that too. But but anyway, I still think Shazam, the first Shazam movie, I believe the first Shazam movie holds up very well. It's a real shame that that the Shazam sequel didn't live up to the hype, and especially the Black Adam movie. Like I thought the Black Adam movie was fun, but it's a real shame that that movie didn't do as well. And the same thing can be said with Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Like I thought Shazam: Fury of the Gods was okay, but I gotta admit I was a bit disappointed of how it turned out to be. That's another episode for another day. But but anyway, but anyway, but anyway, but anyway, I still enjoyed the 2019 Shazam. Like I thought it was still a good movie. If I were to rank this movie, I give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's still I believe it's a good movie. It's a fun movie to watch. I mean, especially for a PG-13 movie, it does have that bit of a family picture to it, but at the same time, if you know what I'm saying, it is a good superhero movie to watch, especially from the DC extended universe. But anyway, that's all I have to say. So anyway, before I close off, what did you all think of 2019's Shazam? Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? Did you think the movie holds up? Did you think the movie was okay? I would love to hear your thoughts. But anyway, that is a wrap on this episode. Thank you all for tuning in to Codo Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo, aka Codoman. Remember to watch movies, stay positive, and Codo Cinema Christmas Month has just begun.